in the late 70s and 80s, and both Frank and I have talked to the people that did it, and they gave us advice on this. The APFT that was established in the late 70s and incorporated in the early 80s was a test that was a snapshot of physical fitness. It was meant to be just a snapshot. It was not linked to what we were trying to do in preparing soldiers for combat. Now, it's been a good test over the last 30 years, but it really has been a snapshot, and unfortunately, in some cases, commanders and leaders have taken the approach of it's an important test to make sure we're fit, but they have also, and I'll let Frank comment on this, it's also become almost a be-all, end-all. If you could train to the test and pass the test, gosh, you must be in great shape. But what we've seen, as you see in the second bullet up there, none of the things we do in the current APFT are linked to the kinds of stresses we put our bodies through in combat. So what we've attempted to do over the last several months in publishing the new TC 32220 and now testing this test is put something on the street that you don't have to train toward, but in fact it allows you to test the kind of shape you're in to perform the skills you need to do. What we want to do is kind of change the mindset of no longer training for a test, but instead having the test be an indicator of the shape you're in. This test will definitely challenge them, both the physical readiness test, the one in PT clothes, and when unit commanders, and as we develop the ACART, the Army Combat Readiness Test, as unit commanders see how competitive that could be and how it might be a test of combat readiness in a pre-deployment cycle or in somewhat of an adventure training mode, they've already sort of jumped all over this saying this is going to be great and we appreciate you all fighting for the changes of this. You know, people have said it's yoga-like, it's like Pilates, it's like, you know, CrossFit. And frankly, it is all those things. It's functional fitness. It's preparing the body to take challenges on in different ways. One of the big things we have to do when you talk about an army of 500,000 plus is it's not only got to be gender neutral, but it also has to be somewhat age specific. Because you're going to be testing 17-year-olds in basic training, but you're also going to be testing old guys like me, 57-year-olds, as they do their thing in the operational force. So it's got to be something that everybody can do, and also that we can do easily, not only at places that have equipment, if we needed it, but places removed that didn't have equipment. Because one of the things we discussed was we couldn't incur a bill to buy things in order to administer the test. And then we also had to figure out a way to incorporate it into both the operating and the generating. Because whenever you do something like this, it would be very easy to say, hey, we've got the new test, let's start executing it. Well, we don't have test standards yet. So over the next couple of months, we've got to do some pilot testings to get a norming device to see, hey, what's really good on this test, what's not so good, and what's about the average. But this allows us to do a little bit more challenging test for all units. It's combat related. It's linked to the warrior task and battle drills, which we refined earlier in the year. And it does test every aspect of the body. Anaerobic, aerobic, muscular strength and endurance, mobility, agility, everything that you would want to test is tested in this particular test. For anybody that is familiar with the West Point indoor obstacle course, which is considered by many physiologists as the best test of physical fitness, this comes very close to that.
All right, let me have your attention. You're about to take the Army Physical Readiness Test, a test that will measure your strength, endurance, and mobility. The results of this test will give you and your commander an indication of your state of physical readiness and will act as a guide in determining your physical readiness training needs. The 60-yard progressive shuttle run measures anaerobic power and mobility. This event consists of 3 sprint intervals of 5, 10, and 15 yards. Go! next exercise is the rower. The rower measures the muscular endurance of the trunk muscles and total body condition. The repetition is complete when the upper body is lowered so that the upper back or shoulder blades touch the ground. Three, two, one, stop! Go!
If you think you're sending those photos back to your unit, you're dead wrong.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Operated individually. The soldier is responsible for their own movement. There are 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Just as a building block from the ground to the top, if people are going through something like this and they're able to negotiate it successfully using the correct tactics and techniques, then I would feel a lot better knowing I was taking that guy with me versus somebody that I'm just hoping can do a litter carry but never actually had to do it under a stressful environment.